Hello everyone, welcome to Illuminum Tarot. This is going to be the very, very first episode, or as I should say, first recording for this YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining us, and I am going to be tapping into Queen of Swords energy for these readings for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon and Ascendant. We're going to first look into the first messages the universe has for us with the Moonology Tarot Oracle deck. And after that, we're going to proceed into a few other things, get some deeper messages using Celtic Cross Tarot. Now, before I begin, I would just like to say, please use these to your best discernment. This is just for entertainment purposes only. And please do not use this as a form of guidance for anything health or work. Well, you can use it for work, but also legal related issues. Also, in case any scammers pop up, please just follow the link in the description below for anything such as personal readings, which I will be offering to audiences listening in. And that is about it. Be sure to visit the website, which I will include all the details in the description below. Thanks so much again for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. So, tapping into the Oracle deck. Let's see what messages Spirit has for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. What messages do we have for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant? What messages do we have for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant? See here. Go ahead and just lay it out. So first of all, we've got here, you and your loved ones are safe. So for you, Taurus, it seems that you are having a very good time with your family. You're going to be enjoying fruits of your labor, fruits of love and life, and you will be in a very good position for the month of May. And I guess whatever, you decide to do with your life at this particular time, you will cherish these moments with the people that you love the most. Seeing as this is the moon in Cancer, this relates to the home and family, and as well as your inner nature, which is, tied deeply to your Illuminum Tarot, which is definitely something that you will be looking into for your personal and most intimate spaces. So after that, we've got the fixed moon, hold your vision. So whatever it is that you choose to achieve for this month of May, please just make sure that you are tapping definitely into that vision that you have created for your life. Make sure that you are, following through with the things, seeing them from beginning to end. As we do see, this is the fixed moon. This is fixed energy. It's also related to Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. That's right. The other one. So we're going to also look at the third card. He says your dreams need a practical plan, and this also kind of ties into the hold your vision, because it seems here that you need to create a practical, cogent plan that you can use to develop the first part of your plan, of whatever it is that you want to that you desire, and then after that, see it through. So it's full moon in Taurus. This is the bull. This is the guy that's going to be, once he sets things into motion, however slow it takes, it will eventually pay off as he begins to use that energy to move forward with those plans. So stay the course. That's really all Spirit's trying to tell you. We're going to get directly into the tarot. We're going to be using good old trusty dusty Rider-Waite. It's the very first deck here, and we're going to now start to use this deck to get the full shebang with these messages. So what messages do you have for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant today? What messages do you have for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant? What messages do you have for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant? Bear in mind, first episode is probably going to be a bit clumsy today. We are still going through the Mercury retrograde. And yes, it has been hitting me hard as I am a Taurus Sun. So life has not been the easiest little journey to take over the last few weeks, but we're going to get through it, and hopefully we'll get through it with some even more steadfast determination. Just give it a little deck. after that, we'll get started. Good. So, let's see where you are, the current situation. Oof, that went all over the place. I'm going to try that again. Okay, there we go. So we have the Cups reversed as your current self. What is crossing your path? I do read reversals, by the way. Who's in the recent past? Who's in the future? Is in the root of the subconscious. What is the crown? How do you see yourself? What is in your external environment? What are your hopes and fears? Finally, expected outcome for this read. So, ball game, Moo Crew. How do you do? We're going to first take a look at the initial card here, which is the Eight of Cups reverse, which we are going to be saying here that this is, someone who doesn't want to necessarily walk away from something that they think is going to try to bring them stability, because we do have the Ten of Pentacles crossing this card, and this is something tied to your legacy, your work life, what you see as the ultimate legacy that you give to the rest of the world. And this is, of course, creating a bit of stagnation for you in this particular period, and what you're now being asked to do is to see whether or not the things that you are doing in your life are fulfilling and actually, contributing something of substance to whatever it is that you want to do, ideally. Because what we have here at the top part, we have the Lovers. This is a choice. This is also something that you feel deeply tied to and connected to. This is something, under divine providence that would actually set you into a new course and a new path. Now, that being said, this is what you are consciously aware of, as it is in the Crown position. In the subconscious, we have the High Priestess reverse. This is someone who is not able to actually tap into their intuition, who is not actually listening to the higher self, telling them that they need to move on to a new particular path that would actually set them for something more fulfilling, something a bit more of substance to your particular life. Now, you can see how this applies to yourself, so please just look into it in your own situation. And if it doesn't apply to you, this reading is definitely for someone else. So please take it as it resonates. In the recent past, it seems like you've fallen out of a particular thing that you've once held, in high regard, something that you thought was emotionally fulfilling. Now, it could be related to work, as we do have the Ten of Pentacles here, or at least a family legacy that you have had in your life that seems like it's no longer feeling like it's paying off. And, these things do happen. Sometimes we get into jobs, we work for someone, we, get into a routine that becomes boring, and then all of a sudden we are falling out of love with it. We get into a relationship, marriage, so on and so on, which is related to the Ten of Pentacles. And as this is in reverse, we're now saying that this is something that we no longer feel is fulfilling. It's sometimes draining in resources, whether that is your time, energy, or something else of, particular value to you, as they are Pentacles. Now, that being said, you're moving into the Knight of Pentacles in the near future. This is the card here. We are going to move into a slow and steady race. That whole story of the tortoise of the hare. He's the one that wins the race because he is the one that is taking the slow but painful initial steps to get to something that is of lasting permanence. This is movement. The knights are always, the cards of movements in the court card deck. Pages are also something of learning, something of initial contact. And so with the Knight of Pentacles, you're moving away from that page energy into a knight energy, something with water moving into earth. So you see there's a dichotomy being drawn there, where you have at first something dealing with the falling out of emotion, now moving into something of practical substance. Now, how you choose to do that is up to you, but I think that you are becoming a bit more curious and trying to understand specifically what it is that is going to give you something of lasting permanence. Now, moving on in, we have the Tower. Tower versus how you see yourself at the current moment. What this means in, I guess, whatever my intuition is dredging up right now, you're trying to avoid a disaster. You're trying to avoid something that you thought was of stability, of structure, something that gave you a bit of respite, a bit of, order within your life. Now that is no longer the case, and you're doing your best to avoid that disaster from falling. Whether or not it's related to work, where you see yourself going into a job and you realize that I'm going to have to quit at some point in time. Or you're in this relationship and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, it's the same the boring person here staring me at the face. Oh my God, when is this going to end? And you find yourself falling into what they call Groundhog Day syndrome, which is basically you repeating every day, waking up and not finding that emotional fulfillment that you so desperately need. And in your environment around you, it does feel like there is a coldness. There's a coldness in all of the people that are around you, whether or not you are working in a toxic work environment or you're in a toxic marriage or some kind of household. You're working around toxic, roommates or whatnot. And these people, are very cold and detached. They play mind games with you. Sometimes they can have a winners takes all mentality, which is not necessarily conducive to your personal happiness. You're going to have to recognize, the things surrounding you as what they are. Now, when we try to plant a seed in the soil, that soil needs to be fertile, and the King of Swords is anything but when it's in the reverse position. It's just cold barrenness. You can actually see this reflected in the card here, where it shows, in his background, it's just a cold barrenness behind him, and he's raising his head above the clouds in the upright position. But in the reverse, it's kind of like you don't want to be that person that puts their head in the sand like an ostrich. You don't want to be the type of person that is unable to see above the clouds and see things for what they really are, to be clear, to be decisive, to be judgmental, like the King of Swords in the upright would be with this particular situation. And again, apply it to whether or not that relates to your work, your love life, your family, or so on and so on. Now, for the rest of May, what I see you doing is actually hoping for a specific resolution to this by going inward. This is evidenced here by the Hermit. And what this guy is going to do, he's the guy who carries the star, or the sun even, you could say, with him. But the star, I would actually use that analogy a bit more. He's represented by Virgo, and he goes inward. He withdraws from the world to try to gain clarity on what his situation is, to gain that illumination, which is, of course, Illuminum Tarot. Thank you. But he's going to try to go in and do his best to find the answers he needs using the star as his guiding North Star, his guiding light, in a place of nothingness. It's withdrawing away from the drudgery, the things that would distract you from your enlightenment, pulling back, going deep within, and asking all those difficult questions that are necessary for you to find out the answers that you need, the answers that you seek. Now, looking forward into this, with the outcome, you do have the Hangman reverse. Now, this can go either one of which ways. You could either A, depending on how you choose to go inward, you could potentially avoid asking those important questions that you need to answer and potentially fall into stagnation. Or you could pull yourself out of this stuck period, this stuck energy. I'll pull a clarifying card just to see what that relates to. Yeah, Queen of Swords, that's my card. As we said earlier, the Queen of Swords is the energy that we use here, so we are in no BS tarot reading. What I would like to say is that with the Queen of Swords reverse, you just basically get fed up. You're just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not going to be putting up with any of this nonsense anymore. And that's kind of like squaring off with the Tower. Both of these are in the reverse, but, you have the Tower as how you see yourself. And then the Queen of Swords is basically your outcome. So this is kind of like a pent-up energy building itself to the point of catharsis towards the end of this month. And I would see you actually getting completely fed up, taking those necessary steps, like the Knight of Pentacles here in your near future, to actually build that life that you think you deserve, or the one that you feel would give you the most sustenance, whether emotionally, financially, or so on. So that is whether or not you feel that you're not getting paid enough in your job, or that your coworkers are dicks, or that you feel that something's going wrong within your family life, and that your mother's being, a prick about things, and that you just need to separate yourself from the whole, which is evidenced here by the Hermit, and eventually coming out with the Hangman, guns blazing, with the Queen of Swords reverse. Now, just to be mindful, it's important that with the Queen of Swords reverse that you communicate your thoughts clearly, decisively, without the bitchiness, as they would say, of the Queen of Swords reverse, which is going to essentially burn more bridges than it needs to. Now, whatever it is that you need, make sure that you go through that with grace. Now, what I'll do is I'll pull through clarifiers to give you some advice for this particular reading, and then we'll close off. My cards are flying around everywhere. First advice is the King of Cups. Second advice is the Three of Cups. The Three of Wands reverse. And the final is the Page of Swords. So, now, looking into that, we have the King of Cups. This is the person who is in tune with their emotions. They look at the world around them and they see that there's a lot of chaos, conflict, drudgery, arguments, things of that nature, distracting them from their inner peace. And what this king is, he is a person who is an authority figure on the emotions, with his cup in his right hand and his scepter in the left, which is the scepter of power that he necessarily wields over his kingdom of water. I guess Waterworld, Kevin Costner, if you want to look at it that way. But he is someone that is commanding of his emotions in a sea of chaos. And you can see that by all the turbulent, waters around his throne. This is the person that you need to become in these difficult times, especially now that we're going through a Mercury retrograde, which should last until roughly I think it's the 15th of May, and then things will start to go direct. So as you navigate these uncharted waters and these choppy waters, I think it's important that you kind of take a page from the King of Cups, no pun intended, so that way you can, navigate your life as best as possible. Now we have the Three of Wands reverse. And this one, what I get from this initially is this is a person that is waiting for things to come into their life. A person that is doing their best to try to passively let life grant them the next steps that they need to take, with the expectations of their ships coming in. I don't think this is the person that you need to be. I think the person that you need to be is, not necessarily impatient, but a person that needs to be proactive. Proactivity is the first word that comes to my mind. This is the Knight of Pentacles, also laying out the type of life that he has had set for himself, that he chooses to create through step-by-step processes. No matter how long it takes, you're going to move from one side to the next in the kind of Six of Swords way, or navigating your life so that way you can say, okay, this job isn't working out for me. Do I need to go out and start applying for new work? Do I need to get on LinkedIn? Do I need to start sending out my resume? How best do I send out my resume? Make sure that everything is, crossing all my I's, dotting all my T's, so that way my resume is in top shape, That way I can find the best employer for the next thing. If you need to start your own business, which is basically what I'm doing here today. You know, I decided to just pull some cards together and make my desk look as, you know, as little mess as possible, and, you know, just get the ball rolling, because that's essentially what we all need to do whenever there is something that we really want to do. Sometimes it's best to just push ourselves into it and just go ahead and start to take the first necessary steps. Don't wait or be passive with the things that you are doing currently. You do not need to be an observer like the Page of Swords is. And I see that with these two things. You know, the Page of Swords is an observer. He's a researcher. He's also very detached from the things that he does within his life. And I think now it's time for you to actually rather use that sword. Start learning the sword, because he is a page. He is a student. Start learning this intellectual power that you have within your own life to start wielding this sharp, divisive tool as best as possible to cut through all the dross within your life and to build the life that you need. Move from a Page of Swords to a Queen of Swords. Be receptive, and also handle it gracefully. I would even say handle it like the Queen of Swords in the upright. Decisive, clear, seeing above the fog, seeing above all the bullshit, and being able to direct her life in the best way possible. Well, I guess that's pretty much it for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and, you know, I hope these messages helped you. Again, if you'd like to, if you found something useful in this, please give it thanks, or if you want to subscribe. I know it's very early, but I'm just putting it out here for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I guess until next reading, take care, everyone. Love and light.